well, I told about Russomania, and as an example of this, we'll talk about that later. But an example of this is the success. There used to be such a touristic walk in London. I don't know whether it still exists, but Google offered you a Diaghilev and the Ballet Russe London walk, where you could visit the places in London which are connected to the story of the success of Sergei Diaghilev's Ballet Russe in England. Well, Sergei Pavlovich Diaghilev was a Russian entrepreneur. He wasn't an actor himself, but he was a businessman in the sphere of art and theater. And he started this enormously successful theatrical enterprise of the traveling Russian ballet. He started it in 1908, and then every year he brought Russian dancers to Europe, and they also included European dancers into their company. So until his death in 1989, so more than 20. Of course, he was an outstanding entrepreneur, but his success, of course, as a businessman, rested on the success of the famous Russian choreographer Marius Petipa, who, among other famous choreographers, laid the foundation for the Russian ballet school, which was to win Europe. After that, of course, the Russian ballet school was considered to be the best, and the one that all the other European ballet looked up to. And for example, Petipa staged and he staged and organized this choreography for Swan Lake, among other things. And Diaghilev did this. He popularized this great achievement of choreography and made it popular throughout Europe. So, for example, these are some advertisements for the programs of Ballet Russe in Paris, in Monaco, and other European capitals. And this is the one for the English performances. Anna Pavlova and her Ballet Russe, the entire Paris and London Organization Festival of Dance and Music. And one of the organizers wrote that the London season, the first London season, was the most triumphant one. They were literally carried on the hands. They were given a lot of flowers and gifts, and all the public were very much enthusiastic about Ballet Russe. And in Russian culture, all things Russian. For example, the English dancers Patrick Healy-Kay, Alice Marks, and Hilda Munnings adopted Russian stage names under which they performed in Diaghilev's troupe. Anton Dolin, Alicia Markova, and Lydia Sokolova. So they adopted Russian stage names. And the popularity of his seasons also led to a European fascination with traditional Russian costume and spawned a new fashion. Even the wife of King George VI of Great Britain was wearing a dress paraphrasing Russian folk traditions at her wedding. So now you probably heard of Vladimir Putin speaking of kokoshnik, right? And popular, that is going to be popular. And why not realize it in modern Russian? Well, to fit the modern Russia, it could very well be revived, and as well as other Russian traditional costumes. Well, at some point I remember coming to university in valenki, and nowadays valenki are in winter. They're quite popular, especially for women. Ushankas, yeah. Well, Ushanka, they're still part of the usual costume, not the traditional Russian costume. It's rather part of the traditional Russian costume for foreigners who buy them in Red Square and in vernissage.
Russian women with those big yeah, fur hats. I don't know, those Slavic women.
Yeah, but Kukoshin, reviving Kukoshin is a nice idea. I support it. And by the way, in English dictionaries, you can find a collocation, like you can find a compound word, Russian boots. Russian boots are high boots, what we call sapagi. Russian boots. No. This word was borrowed during this period of fascination with Russia because Russian ballet dancers were wearing and Anna Pavlova was a success story herself. She was a daughter of a very poor laundry woman who washed clothes. And she rose to become a star, one of the first European stars in the 20th century. She was so talented that she never participated in the ballet even in her initial stages in minor roles. She almost immediately. So she was very bright, very talented, very feminine, and she was very popular in England, where she moved. During the First World War, she moved to England. She had a home. It still survives. I think it is a museum now. And one of her admirers, who built a new theatre in London, arranged for her statue to be made and put on top of that. And she was said to be rather superstitious, so she didn't want to see her effigy, she didn't want to see her statue while she was still alive. So when she traveled in a coach, she turned and looked at the other direction, and she didn't look through the window, not to see her own statue during her lifetime. But so it's still there in England, in London, on Victoria Palace Theatre. And another admirer, another great fan of Pavlova, who lived in Australia, made a recipe of a dessert in her honor and called it Pavlova. Pavlova, you can order a Pavlova in Moscow's cafes now sometimes. Yeah, it is very expensive, but it's named after that Anna Pavlova, the great ballet dancer. Spicy? No, I don't think it's spicy. It's fruity, juicy, berryish, but creamy. Well, maybe you have several different recipes. Yeah. Right. So this is what I want to tell about the cultural influences, mutual cultural influences between Russia and England, mainly in the 19th century, but some of that was, well, sort of spilled into the 20th century. Right. So next time we're going to speak about, well, there will be a bigger portion of the unpleasantness between Russia and England. Next time we're going to speak about the great game of the rivalry between Russia and England in the 19th century. Yeah. So, but I'll also make sure to include some spoon of honey into this barrel of tar. Right. So let me finish the recording now.